With a large influx of new players and an absolutely dizzying amount of uniforms, I thought now would be a great time to cover potentially 5 essential uniforms that every player or almost every player should have. Now, yes, I am missing one of those fabled uniforms, but otherwise they're all mythic, so I think I'm in a pretty good position to judge which uniforms are best and which uniforms you should maybe look into focusing on. Now, this is obviously going to be geared towards newer players, but it also works really well for returning players who have taken more than a year off. Now, in addition to that, as always with uniforms, things change. That's the whole nature of the game. If you go back and you look for any character that has more than one uniform, it always works that way. The newest uniform always trumps the one before it. So please, if you're watching this video in the future, and I will make specific reference to time periods, but in general, if you're watching this video in the future, if it's more than a week, more than 2 weeks, more than a month, go and check that one of the characters on this list hasn't gotten a new uniform since the video. I can't tell the future. I cannot guarantee that none of these characters will ever get uniforms again, and obviously their new uniform, I can tell the future insofar as I know that their new uniform will be better than whatever I'm covering right now. So kicking off the list at number 5, we have Wasp. Now this one's going to be a bit of a shock to some players, but I think with Wasp's introduction to the Transcended Tier 3 list, now that she's available to be used in all content, she is worthy of this list. Now, as a standalone damage dealer, she's not that great. So if you're looking for a damage dealer, maybe she's not in your top 5 most essential uniforms. But she's the only character in the game that gives all allies debuff removal. This is a very flexible, versatile ability. It's primarily used for PvP, but it actually can be used in PvE. And you combine that with the fact that she has a decent leadership, right? 30% attack, 20% defense. I mean, frankly, her base leadership and passive effect are better, even without a uniform, than Cyclops, for example. Now, you don't actually need to get her newest uniform to make her function. You do get some perks from that, but I just wanted to put her on this list because she'll always be relevant, and although her uniform is it's arguably not top 5 material right now, what you are getting is an increase to all of those things, as well as a more consistent character as far as PvP content goes, and a serviceable, although not meta, character in PvE. At number 4 is Sif, but she's actually not alone at the 4 ranking, and we'll get to the other character in a minute. Sif is special because, unlike other characters who may have had supports built into their kit, Sif doesn't have it until she gets the Asgard Invasion uniform. So unless she has a better option, this is going to be her de facto best uniform for the time being. And it has a twofold effect. The first effect is that it changes her leadership to becoming much stronger, giving all combat allies, whether they're villains or heroes, HP and physical attack. This is very useful for characters like Hulk, but also characters like Moon Knight to give him offense and defense. Dr. Octopus, right? Venom, Carnage. It works really, really well. But then you combine that with her uniform passive effect, which gives all allies 10% all speed, which is 10% attack speed and 10% movement speed, and then 45% increased basic damage dealt to boss types. This is an excellent ability for all PvE content, in particular World Boss Legend, GBR, ABX, ABL. So this is a fantastic uniform for a character that otherwise was never known as a support, and I think it's certainly a top 5 pick for most essential uniforms. However, there is an alternative, and the alternative is Shuri. The reason why I didn't put Shuri on this list of top 5 essential uniforms initially is because with the base look for Shuri from Marvel Legacy, you still have a passive. Now, the passive is not as strong, and she's not a strong standalone character, but you can still use her as a support for the time being when I know that crystals are scarce and you're trying to make them work for you as far as possible. However, the reason why I include Shuri here with Sif is because Sif is a really good lead and a really good support, but not a good damage dealer. Shuri doesn't have a leadership, but she has a fantastic support ability, and she also is a fantastic damage dealer on her own. So you can sort of mix and match depending if you want to go more leadership support for Sif, or if you want to go more damage support for Shuri, but in either case, you need to get the uniform. At the 3 spot, we have Dr. Octopus as well as StarLord and Thor, and they represent the male heroes and villains that you're going to want to focus on primarily if you want to start making inroads in things like World Boss Legend, ABX, ABL, GBR, and so forth. They're going to basically represent the sword of your PvE experience allowing you to cut through those early stages and those early requirements so that you can get through to the harder content, that you get through to the better content with the better rewards, the better drops, etc, etc. So Dr. Octopus is technically my top pick for the third spot. He has a lot of flexibility. He could always get another hero uniform in the future. Frankly, this is by far his best, although it's his ugliest look, but he's super easy to play. He's flexible if you really want to build him for World Boss Legend versus building him for ABX and ABL. I know most people do have a rage on him, but he also works very well with a proc. StarLord is another really great pick because you get him at a discount at tier 3 from the Epic Quest. Now, the Epic Quest is a bit tedious, but you still get the StarLord. You need to get the GOTG3 uniform in order to, really make him shine. And I know that he does struggle a little bit defensively until you get him to tier 4, but he's still a powerhouse offensively and does insane damage, super easy to play, really nice animations, and is going to allow you to carve through a lot of different content because he has a lot of very valuable abilities, having command, having weapon master, being an alien, but also being a blast male, and being a hero. And then in the case of Thor, we all know the deal. I mean, I obviously love Thor, but he's fantastic. He's also an alien, so there is a bit of overlap between him and StarLord, but he's universal instead of being Blast, and he's also a fantastic farming character. Now, you could probably use one of these other characters on the list for farming, and I don't think it's necessary or essential to choose a farming character within the top 5. I think you can sort of double dip there, but Thor is still a fantastic option. He's a little bit further behind in the meta right now than StarLord and Dr. Octopus, so he's probably the most likely to be replaced, but as we know, he's one of the most popular characters in Marvel right now. The chances of him getting another uniform are very high. So the runner-up is actually SpiderGwen, and I know this is a brand new uniform, so duh, it's going to be really good, but what we're actually after is a female speed hero, particularly humans, so that you can cover as many World Boss Legends requirements as possible while double dipping into ABX and double dipping into ABL. This is essentially the female version of the logic that I just applied to Dr. Octopus, StarLord, and Thor for rank 3. However, the female characters are just way more useful in Marvel Future Fight than the male characters, which is why they take up 4 of the 5 spots on this top 5 essentials list. Now, SpiderGwen is going to be the top tier in this category. She's super easy to play, super tanky, and she has some PvP viability. There is just no argument, no doubt in my mind that she is absolutely insane, and she's probably going to have the most longevity on this list because I'm making this list right after her uniform comes out. So the chances of her getting a uniform replacement or getting replaced by a character are pretty slim, but there are some other options, so I will talk about them now. You obviously can also consider ShadowShell. I mean, to a lesser extent Gamora, although she's an alien, but ShadowShell does most of the same things that SpiderGwen does, just not as good. However, she's still a solid character, and she has some additional synergy that SpiderGwen doesn't have with the Warriors of the Sky if you were to make a sort of Giga PvP team. And then, of course, no list of speed female human heroes would be complete if I didn't mention Luna. As of recording this video, this uniform is old. It's from 2021, so you do not want to get this one. But if you're watching this video in the future, I don't know, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and Luna has a new uniform, that's the uniform you want to pick, and she's probably going to be as good, if not better, than SpiderGwen. But of course, as always, consult a tier list or consult a content creator or a veteran player and find out for yourself before buying any uniform. And so that brings us to number 1. And of course, no surprise here, had to be Sharon Rogers, the resident mascot of Marvel Future Fight, absolute Giga Chad queen, insane DPS, super easy to play, much tankier now, and just an overall delight. She can literally just shred through content, and although she may not have as many requirements for content as some of the other characters on this list, so people might be thinking, well, there's not as much value here. The value with Sharon is it's just plug and play, right? The most easy, the most convenient character. It's just so easy, and her damage is unparalleled, right? She's going to have the highest output of any of these characters. Her ceiling is so high for her absolute limit on damage that I have no fear whatsoever saying, and I'm super confident in saying that she will not be replaced within 6 months. If you're watching this video after a year and a half, yeah, she's probably been replaced. That's just time doing its job. But within 6 months, there's no way we're gonna find a more consistent character at tier 3 and then at tier 4 for just absolutely insane burst damage in a package that's super easy to understand and super easy to play. So Sharon's my number 1. That's the list. Wasp, Sif, Doc Ock, SpiderGwen, Sharon Rogers. Those are the top 5, in my opinion, most essential uniforms to get you started in Marvel Future Fight, whether you're a new player or a returning player. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button. It helps out the channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.